Hello and welcome to the session on theoretical foundations of life skill with a special context to social learning theory by Albert Bandura. The concept of learning can be defined in many ways. The simple literary definition of learning can be an observation, an imitation of phenomena so as to acquire an experience and skills. Thus, learning can be said that it is a process of acquiring knowledge or skills or experience through responding to the stimuli of environment. Every concept of life has its own basis in the form of theories and principles. The learning is also a concept important in a life basis on two important theories. The one is cognitive learning theory and the second one is behavioral learning theory. The cognitive learning theory argues that acquisition of skills possible by psychological factors. Besides, behavioral learning theories advocates that learning of skills and experience possible only through responding environmental stimuli. There are some theories that combine both the cognitive and behavioral learning theories. The social learning theory, which put forth by Albert Bandura in the year 1977, is one among them which idealized based on both cognitive and behavioral learning theories. The main discovery of Bandura was that the children learn aggression, violence and other social behaviors through observation learning. The famous Bobo doll experiment proved that the children imitated the behavior what they saw and influenced. For instance, the children influenced by the aggressive behavior subsequently behaved aggressively with the dolls. The children who witnessed the passive and non-violence behavior subsequently interacted with the dolls in the same way. From the conclusion of Bandura, we also can conclude that either knowledge or skills or experience or the influence of the close observation of oneself to his or her own environment. Life skills through behavior. The social learning theory have been a foundation for many psychological, philosophical, cultural and social queries related to the acquisition of skills. The relationship between the nature and nature of human also based on the observation learning as advocated by Bandura. The concept modeling is an important finding of Bandura which plays pivotal role in shaping one's behavior, attitude, belief and other emotional reactions. Bandura strongly advocated that learning mostly happened observationally through modeling. He also argued that human behavior is the result of reciprocal interaction between cognitive, behavioral and environmental influences each other. In general, the social learning theory justified the process such as observation, imitation and modeling play pivotal role in the acquisition of any knowledge or skills. Thus, the life skills are also not exceptional to this type of justification. The heart of social learning theory. While justifying the observation, imitation and modeling help in the learning of new things, he additioned the other two factors such as attention and memory also help in the learning of new skills. The behaviorist proposed that learning of new things was a result of association and reinforcement, but Bandura's theory rejects that reinforcement could not be an account for all kind of learning, while behavioral theorists argued that conditioning and punishment along with reinforcement form the learning. He argued that learning of new skills possible only by simple observation of the actions of others. There are three important concepts that are considered to be the axis of the learning as conceived by Bandura as follows. The one is, one can learn through observation. The second one is, state of mind is important for learning. The third one is, learning is also happened without permanent change in the behavior. Let us move to the first component. One can learn through observation. Bandura demonstrated through his Bobo doll experiment that children learn through imitating behaviors what they observed in others. The life skills such as self-awareness, empathy, critical thinking, creative thinking, decision making, problem solving, effective communication, interpersonal relationship are almost happen through observation learning. For instance, the skills such as cooperation, tolerance and sense of oneness are poor in infant, childhood and adolescence than adulthood, and gradually increases due to the developmental stage, because adult might have learnt these skills a lot through observation of many situations than the stated stages of human development. Bandura confirmed the learning of new skills through three types of modeling, which they identified through his own experiment. Types of modeling. The first one is a live model. This is a model depicts that observation of an actual individual's performance or action. This type of observation model has more impact on learning because of direct exposure of demonstration or action of concerned individual. The second one is a verbal interpersonal model. This model makes an individual to observe the descriptions or explanations of a particular behavior. Although this type of model does not give direct exposure, the learner feels that they had seen the action behavior. The results of learning new skills are on par with the degree of descriptions and the explanations of behavior. The third one is a symbolic model. This model involves real or fictional characters displaying the behaviors. This type of model of observation is usually taking place between human and non-human elements such as books, films, television programs, stories and media and so on. Observing everything directly through naked eye is not possible, where these type of non-human elements make the human to observe through cognition and results in learning of new skills. As stated by Bandura, although the skills such as flexibility, initiative, compromise, constitutional circumstances and delivering on promise are not directly observed by oneself, but they can be executed in their day-to-day life. State of mind is important for learning. Mere observing someone's performance or action is not always result in learning of new skills. Our own mental state and internal motivation play predominant role in confirming whether learning took place or not. While confirming internal motivation, he also rejects the external reinforcement as a factor for learning. Learning is also happened without a permanent change in the behavior. It is observed that in most of the cases, the learning is verified through whether that behavior is modified or not. But the argument of Bandura is that the verification of behavioral modification cannot be applied to all sort of learning. For instance, While learning new voluminous of information, we do not put forth any changes in our behavior. The study of the definition, concept, meaning and formula do not bring any kind of behavioral modification in us. Hence, Bandura strongly argued that learning of new skills also possible without modifying one's own behavior. The component of observational learning. There are 4 components that have been classified under observational learning. The first one is attention. This component includes the modeled events such as distinctiveness, affective valence, complexity, prevalence and functional value. This component mainly requires the characteristics of an observer such as sensory capacities, arousal level, perceptual level and post reinforcement. This is the component indicates the extent of the degree of notice paid and exposure gained through the stated model events and observer qualities. The basic life skills are really enhanced through the observation of the learners through modeling event. The second one is retention. Once the behavior is seen, it requires some retention to retain the information longer. Hence, this phase of the observational learning emphasizes the amount of behavior remembered through following stated components of observation. There are 4 important processes required for the component of observation, which are as follows. The one is symbolic coding, the second one is cognitive organization, the third one is symbolic rehearsal and the fourth one is motor rehearsal. Reproduction. This is the component of an observation learning meant for demonstration of behavior seen and retained, but it is not possible in all cases of learning, especially in the context of learning life skills. It is not possible always demonstrating the actions what seen and retained. Hence, such inabilities in reproducing the actions can be reduced through the actions such as reproduction, physical capabilities and self-observation of reproduction. Motivation. Despite the prior stated components are important for the observation, this component sets the will to perform the behavior out of vicarious and internal reinforcement. Unless otherwise vicarious reinforcement is sensitized by an individual, he or she will not imitate the behavior. Thus, the learning of new life skills or enhancing life skills is possible based on the social learning theory which put forth by Bandura. Principles of learning life skills. The symbolically organizing and rehearsing the modeled behavior rather than it overfly make the optimum level of learning life skills. Coding the modeled behavior into words, labels, symbols, hint diagrams, signs, signal and expression than mere observation help the retention of life skills learnt. If a particular modeled behavior results in the possible outcome of life skills, the learners probably adopt the same type of modeled behavior. If observer feels that modeled behavior has functional value and similar to his her mental state only, he or she will adopt the modeled behavior. Bandura's self-efficacy. Although Bandura is a key exponent of social learning theory, he also popularized the term self-efficacy because his theory considers that how one individual perceives him or herself in the society and scale their own competencies of life. He suggested the following 2 tasks from his social learning theory for the better performance. The one is the kind of action or the tasks that the learner choose, and the second one is the amount of consistent effort put in to the task. Sources of self-efficacy. As discussed already in the components of observational learning, the performance accomplishment could be enhanced through the following sources of self-efficacy: vicarious experience, verbal persuasion, and emotional arousal are the three consistently being the sources of one's self-efficacy. 4 passages to develop self-efficacy. Also, Bandura identified and gave away the 4 solid ways of building self-efficacy are as follows. The one is mastery experience, the second one is social modeling, the third one is social persuasion, and the fourth one is states of physiology. Mastery experience. This passage refers to the experience of an individual as the result of his or her self-efficacy in first hand. The approach of life with devoted efforts and experimenting with realistic and challenging goal is the key to attain mastery over any experience. In order to harvest the bliss of mastery, the individual has to acknowledge always the satisfaction of goals that are achieved. Social modeling. The endeavor and a desire of the people in imitating some achievers or winners as a model considered to be a social modeling. People voluntarily choose one or some role models who can influence their self-efficacy. Motivation could be observed in the life of those who employed this social modeling in their lives and have reached their goals despite hardship come across. Social persuasion. While social modeling refers to the observation of a role model, social persuasion is all about having others who are considered to be an influence to directly influence in an individual's self-efficacy. The social persuasion providing opportunities for mastery experiences in a secure manner. Hence, this model is considered to be a medium for finding the right mentor. When people strongly believe their own ability, they tend to put forth more success. In the same way, self-efficacy becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. States of physiology. It is quite common that an individual will feel socially frustrated and disappointed when the feelings such as tension, anxiety and weariness occur. It is also easy to predict an individual with bias when failure occurs. In contrast, the same individual would be quite balanced in the normal condition. In general, the positive and negative emotions of human are influencing one's sense of self-efficacy. Limitations of social learning theory. Although social learning theory explains some complex behavior, it does not give enough justification for how people develop a whole range of behavior, including their thoughts and feelings. We the people have a lot of cognitive control over our behaviors. We will not reproduce the violent behavior just because of observing them. The advocacy commitment to the environment as the premier influence of our behavior fetched criticism on social learning theory. Social learning theory is not a complete explanation for all our behavior. For instance, a person expresses his behavior and attitude even when there is no visible and appropriate role model in his life. So far, we have seen the social learning theory put forth by Bandura and how it was helpful in developing life skills of day-to-day life. Hope you all understood and have got some insight out of social learning theory. Thank you for watching this program. Have a nice day.